Tell me what love is.
He was hell-bent on being a guitar player.
I consider Dave, even though he was a really good guitar player, more of a songwriter than anything.
When David met you, you met him. You met the real person.
There was nothing fake about Dave. He was the most dedicated man to music I've ever been around.
I think he's an important step in the evolution of Cincinnati music.
He appreciated original music, and that was important to him that people that did that felt like they were appreciated.
You got me crying every night.
There's a park at the end of Ohio Avenue in Clifton. Walked to the very edge of the overlook area and looked out over the city and said, you can do this. You can take this town.
Just like love, baby, just like love.
Rolling. Everybody ready? I had a friend that confided in me that she had some monsters that wouldn't leave her alone, you know, PTSD kind of stuff. And I just got to thinking about it. It just behooved me to write a song about that lament.
It seems okay today. The monsters stay away. He lived behind those fears.
When I first heard the lyrics to Broken Glass, it really spoke to me.
And you're choking back your tears. Won't be long until it's time to swallow.
It was mutually very emotional getting to know that song and trying to get all the nuances right that, you know, he envisioned for it.
Like you're walking barefoot on broken glass. From your past.
Mariah was that voice that probably reached more ears than I could have with my own.
So you decide to talk it out.
Taking a little break during the shoot, and I remember him telling me, like, you know, kid, you're doing real good. I hope so, like, because the song means a lot to me, and he just said, me too, you know. He was just always, like, understated.
And the medication's just go straight off. Won't be long until it's time to swallow. Last night and again tomorrow. With your jagged edge of sorrow. It's like you're walking barefoot on broken glass.
He became our total benefactor and changed the band, and he changed the course of my life entirely.
He was always very enthusiastic about seeing new people coming up. I mean, there's a lot of people that Dave really inspired just in terms of his enthusiasm for what they were doing and encouragement, you know, to keep going, that, you know, there's a lot of people he supported in that way.
He didn't get what he deserved. But at the same time, I don't think it mattered to him one bit. And he didn't do it for a deal, but he just did it because he loved it more than anybody I know.
He enabled me to pursue music and gave me opportunities that I would never had otherwise. And I think I would have probably given up on my musical career if not for his influence and, you know, his generosity.
I was looking for you. I went to all the usual places. Yeah, I was looking for you. Just trying to cover all your bases.
All these things that just kind of came my way half accidentally and just made my life and my band grow, you know. I just, you know, did what I was supposed to do. Basically, that's the way I feel like my job was to realize I had the talent, use the talent, get good enough at it that you can entertain people, and then they can take a load off their minds and enjoy themselves in a bar, you know. And I could be the reason they had a relief, you know. But just doing what I'm supposed to do.
Well, it's out again. I heard all the usual usual places.
It was like a cheap Stella that my dad had given my sister Lorana, and she didn't touch it. I didn't get any lessons or anything, but I just beat the strings off of it until there was only like 2 left, and I played those, you know. But that was shortly after that I went into the Navy and bought my real first guitar, which was a 12-string, unfortunately. I didn't know any better, and so I'm tuning that thing for a half an hour, and I got 90 guys in the barracks wanting to take my head off and throw me out a 3rd-floor window. The master at arms heard all this commotion and came over and said, "Hey, if you want to play guitar, you go right ahead. And the rest of you guys leave his ass alone." So I was free to do it, you know. Like I got permission.
He's just larger than life. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking like, I want to play guitar like that. That's how I want to play.
He came home and told me that he joined a new band. And at the time, I think he was already in 3. And I just shook my head and went in the other room. And I'll admit, I tried to get him not to play with 500 Miles to Memphis because they were so young and they were punk and they weren't what my version of David was, you know, just country. And of course, I didn't know him early on, but by the time I met him, he was pretty much into country music, the old-fashioned kind. So then he started recording with them, gave him some money, and he said, use it for recording. And they blew me away. They were as good as he said they were going to be.
Our second record, David fully financed, got us into a real good studio and had it produced by Erwin Musper at the Bamboo Room. I couldn't afford to go into a real studio. And David made that happen. And sure enough, we recorded the album and we got signed.
Well, in championing, the goal is right now, right here. This moment, this song, that note. And that's what championing really is bringing people along with you, showing them where you're going to take them, and then having them join that energy.
The parts of being in the music business, the parts that a lot of us aren't so great at, he was good at that too. He was full force when it came to booking, promotion, marketing, on stage, full force, performing, absolutely.
We started the Attitude, then the Attitude turned into the Wet Spots, kind of from a punk to a more of a new wave. We opened up for Iggy Pop in front of 900 people at Bogart's, and some of the members of the band wanted to change the direction a little bit, including me, wanted to do some classic country and do more songwriting.
That was 1982, and that was the start of the Warsaw Falcons.
We had an upright bass and a piano. Tommy Schneider played guitar and sax, and I played guitar, and that was the original Warsaw Falcons at Corey's. And then we moved from Corey's over to Dollar Bills, and that's when the whole thing really just blew up. We played 13 sets a week at Dollar Bills for years and years. While you're doing it, you kind of know it can't last, and so we sort of warned each other, this is not going to last, guys. There's no way you just go through your whole life playing one club. We were making real good money right there in one building, and it looked like that could last a little while anyway. And I think that's when we first realized that we had something when the trio came out in '86, me and Doug Wagner and John Schmidt. And it lasted all the way up until '90.
We had so much success right off the bat due to his drive of getting the band out there. Once we were out there, we would bring the house down.
the same time Dave was around, you know, you also had a lot of punk stuff going on, and everybody was kind of different, and he was certainly different than everybody else. Even though he had some sort of traditional styles to him, there wasn't really nobody like that in town. Sort of Americana, 50s, but with an edge. And I think he influenced everybody.
It never stopped. Everything he did, he got better and better and better. And he was at the top of the game no matter whatever game he was in, whatever band he was in.
His sound was very bright, sort of piercing, because he played a Stratocaster through a deluxe reverb. He pretty much played clean most of the time, and that's a very difficult way to play, and he always felt like he was on the edge of losing control, and Dave liked that.
I think there's always been on my part a desire to have an attack, to use the instrument as a weapon, and to use my voice almost as if I'm very, very dangerous. The opening to Lost My Head, those kind of lines are in your face. Stuff that had a powerful rhythm. I mean, even if it's just chords, it's still a hook.
We would go in and he'd have a song and we'd rehearse it one night and he'd want to play it the next night, which would kind of make me crazy.
Dave would bring a new song in. He had written it soup to nuts. So there wasn't a lot of rearranging. He knew how he wanted the song to go.
Either he was dead on top of it and he'd sit there and write it all out in 15, 20 minutes, or there were songs that bothered him for years because he couldn't get them right, and then somehow pull these tunes out of his head and they just would slide right into each other. It was pretty fascinating to watch.
He would write little songs and he would write hooks. He was just putting pieces together that later did develop into songs when he went back to them.
Then you come home and ask me what's wrong. I think it's a sin, just where you've been.
So he would bring in the song as a finished product, and then we would work it up and, you know, tweak a few things in terms of arrangements or whatever. Musically, we understood what needed to happen. You know, maybe do one or two rehearsals with some of these tunes, and then we'd take them right out.
I must have lost my head. I must have lost my head. I can't believe some of the things I said. You're not here no more alone in my bed. Makes me lose my head. Why don't you stop?
I might not be the most technically perfect or fastest hands in the West, but whatever it is, the attack is original, you know.
Playing with Dave was a plus, no matter where you turn. He was the best rhythm guitar player I ever saw, and also a great lead player, which not too many people do that, you know what I mean? We didn't need a lead guitar player, the songs were great, but the rhythm is what I like. Nobody played like him. Can you name anybody around here that even played like him, or even anybody that's playing him? No one played like him. I mean, he was the real deal. He did it all. And for three of us to fill up a stage like that was pretty cool. It was definitely cool.
The Falcons were rockabilly punk kind of thing, but you know, later on in his life, he really did all kinds of different things.
Here's one we used to do with Dave. It's called Red Hot Riding Hood.
My favorite club as an adult is the Southgate House Revival, and of course the original Southgate House before that. It's one of those clubs you can trust. You can just go to the club and know you're probably going to be entertained pretty well.
As quiet as a mouse, you know, I never seen nobody look as good as you. You took off that robe, kicked off them shoes, kicked off them shoes.
The first time I met him was in '84. We were opening for the Warsaw Falcons down at a club called the Metro, downtown Cincinnati, Ruth Lyons Lane. Kind of an unusual club for those two groups. I didn't see him at all for a number of years. And ironically, we were opening for the Warsaw Falcons yet again. And he approached me after the show and said, hey, I've got this lead on a new band called the Star Devils, and I think you'd be perfect. And then we started playing together in a band at long last. We'd go to his house in Newport as the Star Devils, and he would be finishing up a guitar lesson with a young Ryan Malott. David just wanted to play with everybody.
He had already been gigging for, almost 10 years before I was even born, and he was playing with the Star Devils.
Who else do you know that could be in the same city all their life and reinvent themselves 6, 7, 8 times, and each time have it be successful? It's an amazing thing.
He would skip out of here like a kid when it was time to go to rehearsal, or if he was going to a gig I wasn't going to. He would, other than having to be his roadie, it was fun to watch him.
He had been recording some songs, and then he came up with this Irish tune. It was sort of a huge production. We had all kinds of instruments on it. Banjo, violin, multiple guitars. It was big. We just kept adding tracks to it.
Does anyone know why Irishmen drink? Why they fill their face full of froth?
And it became sort of like a local scene thing where a lot of people were in this song, and Dave's like, well, we should make a video.
Always in fear of getting cut off.
He would write a song, and he would generally write a solo for that song that was just as intentional as the melody and the lyrics. He would stick with it.
We drink when we're happy, we drink when we're sad.
I think I called him just to check on him. He's like, got this project, it's a novelty song that we recorded. Why don't you and Cindy come down and be in the audience? And I thought he was going to be okay at that point. He seemed great that day.
We drink every day.
He had this big energy that was also kind, and it was magical.
We'll still be drinking as we fall through our gate, but mostly we drink just to piss off our wives. Irish women, they drink just to spit in our eyes. Drink every day.
And when Bo Diddley would come to town, the Warsaw Falcons would back them up. They were the backup band. He learned a lot about being the lead performer from that, because they were the backup band and Dave was used to being the front guy, and now he was watching an internationally famous performer be the front guy. He was grateful that he had that opportunity. He felt lucky.
First time he performed Hurt was with the Star Devils, and he did a similar version to the way that we do it. I think the Star Devils scrapped it because they're a rockabilly band, and they wanted to kind of stay true to that sound. So David brought it to us, and we gladly took it and said, yes, but you got to sing it. So the version that we do is a mixture of the Johnny Cash version and the 9 Inch Nails version, and a little bit of 500 Miles to Memphis thrown in the mix as well.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel.
Just very loud, epic, guitar-driven, vocally-driven song. And David performs it so well.
That's real. The needle tears a hole.
It became a showstopper. Threw it in the middle of the set. Every time David was playing with us, it was in the middle of the set, because if you weren't convinced that you liked 500 Miles to Memphis before, after you saw Dave perform that song, you were in for the rest of the set.
Thanks to 500 Miles to Memphis, I mean, they're the ones that deemed me DRB. My company's name was DRB Services. They started calling me DRB, introducing me as DRB. And I'm a Kentucky Colonel, so it was Colonel DRB. And I'm a Reverend. I married the drummer, Kevin Homo, and his wife, Nicole. So now then it was Reverend Colonel DRB, you know. They got me in that van and took me around as much as 250 nights a year for years.
At the end of the gig, I asked him, would you consider playing with us again? And he grabs me by the back of the neck. And you know, he's like a whole 1.5 foot taller than I am. Grabs me by the back of the neck and he's like, hell son, I'll just join your damn band.
This is the song that got me started in doing what I'm doing here, a dedicated set of Warsaw Falcons of David's music. And every time I listened to it, I got a different meaning from this song. And it goes something like this.
You can tell the devil he can go straight to hell. I know your soul, not something you would sell. And the gates will open when you ring the bell. Pray the angels find you well.
David had like a really unique ability to find that right expression, tap into that. That was David's brilliant songwriting.
Well, you told me something I never heard before. Human up with what you settled for. Never dawned on me we could ever die. That bell, you hear that chime, and all that pain you can leave behind. When the gates swing open and you see the light, and all you've been through fades into mind. Just hope the devil knows that he can go to hell. I pray the angel
be listening to that song, Pray the Angels, 40 years from now or 40 years ago, and it's timeless.
Perfect Hollywood movie ending. No way she should stay. No position that's worth defending.
The first song I wrote that I thought might be a hit, yeah, I'd say that was probably the Bye Bye.
You see her walking the line, and all the paths they lead to the bye-bye. Bye-bye.
We recorded that at Jewel Recording in Mount Healthy, and Rusty York owned the studio at the time, and Junior was the engineer, and Rusty mastered it and pressed it for us. It was a 45, and that was released in '83. We did that song at Bogart's. The thing I remember is that the applause after the song took almost as long as it took to play the song. It was a 3.5-minute song, and I think they applauded for at least 3.5 minutes. It was almost embarrassing. You know.
There's only two parts to life, and that's to put the edge on and to take the edge off. And David certainly put the edge on.
When David met you, you met him. You met the real person.
I remember talking to Dave when he first got ill. He said that he has never been cheated out of anything. He was given the greatest gift in the world, which is music.
I stole Dave's wrist. I stole my career from David, and he gladly, graciously gave it to me.
Tell couple faces. Time to be alone. Time to take a long drive in the car. Maybe you'll see that shit.
I remember talking to Dave when he first got ill. He said that he has never been cheated out of anything. He was given the greatest gift in the world, which is music.
I think he was just very true to himself. He did what he wanted to do.
I walked out with him that night, and he said, "I'm done. I can't do it anymore." He didn't want sympathy. He wanted people to know how grateful he was. He knew how lucky he'd been.
In no position that's worth defending. See you walking the line.
He lifted everyone around him. Everyone. That's so rare. It is not just about the music for him. It is being able to be the tide that lifts all boats. And he was that.
Lord knows I tried to say the things that I feel inside. Lord knows I tried, but all it's left to see